Oops.
Oh, yeah.
We're about ready. Curtis, when you come up here, you speak right into this for the hard of hearing.
You got it.
We may have to elevate it for you, but.
We'll see.
Some of you have probably seen this. This is the sheet that has the suggestions for next year on it. I need to probably have a show of hands of how many of you would be attending next week's planning meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half a dozen or so, 6. Okay, if I would you all be interested if I ordered a pizza or something? And
Yay!
Yeah.
all right.
You have to order more than one.
Well, are you going to come now that the pizza's been announced? Or are you going to be at the planning meeting?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Promises. So anyhow, this will be sitting up here if you want to add your any suggestions to it. Please do. And the planning meeting is tomorrow or next week. Here.
At what time?
Same time, same station, 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Might be a different menu.
11:30. No, I'll order a pizza and have it delivered up here so we have it for our planning meeting.
It'll have to be a big piece.
Well, then I'll come too, and I like pepperoni and sausage.
It'll have to be a big pizza.
How's everyone doing?
Fine.
Great.
It is lovely to see so many familiar faces, but it certainly tells me that I better not make anything up. I think we've got several basketball and perhaps Naismith historians in the room. So we'll see how this goes, and I'll hope nothing gets thrown at me at any point in time. Let's see. I was telling someone just a few minutes ago that ECM holds a very fond place in my heart. There was a theologian in residence program that I assisted with for a number of years, and we met, oh gosh, over in Thad's office and had all kinds of glorious ideas, and one or two of them even came to fruition. But
Tell us a little about yourself.
oh, okay, sure. Thank you for asking. My name's Curtis Marsh. I am just beginning my second 20 years of employment at the University of Kansas. I've held a number of different positions that I guess the one concurrent thread would be that I got a chance to work with a wide variety of departments across campus. Many of you know the good programs that continuing education puts on, both for community lifelong learners and for professional, those in professions that require continuing education. I spent several years with continuing ed, and I'm on my 11th year working with a program called KU Info. And KU Info has a lovely almost 50-year history at the university as a general question answering service. And some of you are so well aware of the notion that in the early 70s, when campus was in a great deal of unrest, perhaps making our current conditions seem rather tame, actually, that there was need for a rumor control hotline that you could call and find out, okay, is there really a major protest going on in front of Strong? Is there really a curfew? Even perhaps is it my roommate or child who got in trouble yesterday? And so this was the genesis of KU Info. And once campus excitement simmered down a bit, this rumor control hotline became the place that you called with any question under the sun. We had a really fun NPR story done about us on All Things Considered just about 5 years ago. And it ran nationally to my great surprise. But the gist of the story was that perhaps this was a local version of Google before the internet was around. Because really there was no question that KU Info wouldn't tackle. So now we've got the internet. And it seems like perhaps KU Info would be different, but I'm here in front of you as a 10-year-long employee to tell you it hasn't really changed that much. And boy, we still get those crazy questions. Folks want to know how many trees are on campus. They want to know is it really important to boil an egg this many minutes rather than fewer? But really, KU Info has evolved to a program that focuses on some of the harder to reach information about campus life and about not just how our students can navigate the rough waters of undergraduate and graduate education, but also how the extended Jayhawk Nation can remain connected with the university and find out what's going on. So boy, that's a lot of fun, that position. And what happened about a year ago was that so these 2 pieces of paper were donated to the university, and someone convinced a group to build a building around these 2 little pieces of paper. And that person said, hey, instead of just putting them in a display case somewhere in Allen Fieldhouse, I want a building where people are encouraged to come and enjoy this story and maybe even hang out for a little while and not just check out these 2 pieces of paper and then leave. So I would like dining in this building. I would like a retail space in this building. I want it to be a place where people enjoy gathering. And so that started sounding a lot like something that the Student Union Corporation would run. And because of that, I accidentally stumbled upon the opportunity to help run this building. So I'm coming up on almost a year of being the director of the DeBruce Center. I would love to know how many of you have been in that building. Oh, a little over half of you.
Where is it?
Where is the DeBruce Center? You know, there's not a whole lot of space on main campus to put brand new buildings. In fact, it seems like you have to tear one down in order to put one up these days. But they found a little space just to the east of the parking garage that is connected to Allen Fieldhouse.
Oh,
And they said, oh, heck, why have beautiful green space when you can have a big building? And I don't know, I don't disagree with that one, because they ended up spending a decent amount of money to create a pretty gorgeous little building, again, in somewhat of a small footprint, but with its open construction. A little over half of the group here can back me up on this. It's a very open space and a very inviting and visually pleasing spot. So we lost a little bit of grassy area, which I don't like taking away from campus, but we added a pretty unique facility, one that does not try to emulate Allen Fieldhouse, but one that works with it. In fact, some of our more creative architects would say, this is a building that we built so that you can look right through it and see Allen Fieldhouse. Or depending on the time of day, you look at it and reflected back to you is other elements of our beautiful campus. So there's the answer to why did you choose this kind of a building. But some of you have seen it, and you've seen that you walk into this space that occupies an area very close to Allen Fieldhouse, and the entire first floor is dedicated to this notion of gathering, where our students can come to meet with professors perhaps, or work on group projects together. The whole first floor of this building is for gathering, is for union perhaps. Second floor is dedicated to exhibits, dedicated to our 13 rules that Dr. Naismith created in 1891. And then the third floor is actually a reservable meeting space for, well, free for any KU affiliated groups, and for perhaps a small fee for those who aren't directly linked to the university. The only other thing I'll say about the building is that, as you know, the Burge Union, may it rest in peace, no longer with us, but one of its primary functions was to serve meals and serve as the training table for our 500 or so student athletes. the DeBruce Center now has taken over that responsibility. And so if you do choose to come and have breakfast at the Courtside Cafe, or to brave the decent-sized crowds for lunch, you will be doing so amongst students, employees of the university, alumni, and our student athletes. One of the things that Shayan Zenger, our athletic director, has said that I don't even know that I could pay for this kind of promotion. But he says every time I come into this new building, I feel like I'm back in Division II. And I think, does that mean you're unhappy with something? He says, no, I don't sense the imaginary boundaries that our large university has in between its untouchables, athletes and administrators, and the rest of the community. So what a lovely thing for him to say. This is a true melting pot of the university community. The other thing he says, which may be equally invaluable, is that with this new facility, he feels like pre-DeBruce Center, athletics kind of faced inward. You had all of these buildings that kind of formed arms around itself, and it was inward focused. And now we've got a building that he says is facing the rest of campus and is a better melding perhaps of athletics and academics. Hey, he said it, so that makes me happy. Yes, sir.
And what are the hours for public time?
Because good question. The question was, what are the hours? Again, we have the responsibility at the DeBruce Center of feeding our student athletes. That means at 7 in the morning, we've got to be ready for as many of these heavy eaters as we can be. And for the rest of us, heavy eaters or not, a full service breakfast cafe is available at 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then opens at 10 a.m. on Saturdays, and at this point, no Sunday hours, but hopefully soon. And then we'll stay open until, I wish it was later, but 6 p.m. the building closes, and the place is flooded with our athletes who have their evening meetings and meals in the space. That whole first floor is the football team. The third floor has a space that feeds both men's and women's basketball as well.
So 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
You got it. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm sorry, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 6. Friday, 7 a.m. to 5, and then Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh, I can't remember all that.
I should put it on a website or something.
Yeah.
You
Are
first.
you, and the times, you do serve an evening meal?
Question is, what are the options for an evening meal? The cafe itself closes an hour before the building does. And that is because everyone that's serving the public puts on a different hat and begins preparations for evening meals for our athletes. So if you do want to come for an evening meal, come early, but it is an option.
Like 3
Or work
p.m.?
out.
3 would be good, but 4 p.m., 5 p.m. is kind of the cutoff depending on the day. Paul, what's your question, sir?
What is the history of how the rules got from Naismith to?
So thank you for asking. It's as if I planted that question. So there are a couple things that I'd love to share, particularly with this group. The story about the rules coming to campus is a fun one. We'll spend some time on that if you would like. Some of the more unique and interesting stories are how the game grew, how Naismith, we can't claim the origin of the sport here in Lawrence. Because as you know, Naismith, although he was born and raised in Canada, and actually went to McGill University in order to become a minister, during this time in his early adulthood, saw team sports as a way to help build character in young men, but not exclusively young men. He also has an interesting reputation of inclusivity, perhaps when it was not as popular as it is now. But he changed his tune and chose to go to Springfield, Massachusetts as a part of this group that was training YMCA representatives. And in Springfield was the story of the creation of the sport. And those two little rules were typed up at his request in Springfield, Massachusetts. He was only there 4 years, and then he didn't quite make it here immediately after that. He went to Denver, Colorado, and then came here.
Oh, I just wanted to say I'm from England and we play netball. But I don't know which came first. I have no idea.
Which came first, netball or basketball?
I have no idea.
Well, perhaps that could be a lighthearted jaunt between two countries as far as
When I went to
pride.
When I went to school, we played netball.
Well, we, interestingly enough, perhaps you could argue that basketball is less popular in Great Britain than in other countries.
Yeah.
But one of the first things that happened when the DeBruce Center opened was the BBC called.
Did they?
And the BBC, having a program called British Railway Journeys,
Oh, yeah.
also chose, because of the popularity of that program, chose a spin-off, Great American Railway Journeys, and they chose to come to Lawrence.
When
And
was that?
why did they choose to come to
Oh,
Lawrence?
when was that?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say there are so many reasons. But that was only about 4 months ago, maybe 5.
Oh, my God.
And they spent about a half day with us. They shared with us an excerpt of another show they had done where they went to Philadelphia. And during their time in Philadelphia, they visited the University of Pennsylvania. And this very exuberant and good-spirited host had football pads put on him, and he started working on tackling dummies. And they said, what can we do similar to that here in Lawrence? Well, by golly, we put some basketball clothes on the guy. And Jeff Hawkins and I took him onto the fieldhouse court and put him through his paces. Only afterwards to discover that this is a fellow that served as the Secretary of Defense under Margaret Thatcher. He was extraordinary. He was such a wonderful guy. As we understand it, the editing process, they're going to take their time on it, and the show itself should air in March. And will it be on PBS? Hard to say, but regardless, in this lovely age of internet, we'll surely have a chance to view it online.
What will be the name of the show?
Well, now it's Great American Railway Journeys. It is a series, and when they complete the process, they'll be doing a series on the Midwest and on Lawrence in particular.
Oh, great.
I can't wait. I wish they would do it more quickly. But we worked pretty hard to find a connection while they were here between their home country and this story of basketball. You've heard of some intriguing early stories about basketball becoming an Olympic sport. The modern day Olympics were developed at right around the same time that Naismith first penned the rules to basketball. And yet there were only 9 Olympic Games before basketball became a sport in 1936. You all know those Olympic Games had a pretty unique story all to themselves. These were the Berlin Olympics.
Oh.
But because of a pretty unique grassroots fundraising effort, Dr. Naismith got to go to Berlin and throw the first ball for basketball as an Olympic sport. And really it was Lawrenceans that gave a penny here and there and helped to build a fund that would allow him to travel there. He is quoted as saying it was the biggest moment of his life, which is pretty fun to hear. I think it's important that we credit the YMCA network for a lot of the popularity of basketball's early history. Naismith was at a school, Springfield College, that although it had other purposes as well, a very strong reason for people to come to this area was to go through training to become representatives of the YMCA. When they completed their time at Springfield College, they were then sent around the country, and in some cases to other countries, to spread the word that the message of the YMCA. They were not officially required to bring the game of basketball with them, but this message of what they called muscular Christianity lent itself very well to being taught through sport. And so basketball found its way throughout the entire world, based in large part by the folks that had gone to Springfield College and then went to other countries spreading the message. I think it's a fun element of how this game became so internationally popular so quickly. There's another, in my mind, pretty important element to this story that has quite a bit to do with Christianity. And I think I'll start by asking if anyone here has seen the movie Footloose.
Yes.
The old one, the original.
The original Footloose?
Oh.
So in summary, at least from my perspective, poor Kevin Bacon is just trying to convince an entire town that dancing
Yes.
is not a tool of the devil. And actually he's pretty successful at it, right? That's because he was in movie land. And then you've heard, of course, that there's this game 7 Degrees of Separation
Yeah.
with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Well, I contend that we now have shrunk that because I think Dr. Naismith had many parallel challenges to Kevin Bacon in that late 1800s, here is a man with a deep sense of religious values, actually went to McGill in order to become a minister, and yet in many of his religious circles, team sports were seen in not too dissimilar a way from dancing. And you watch our guys and gals on the court, they're kind of dancing together, aren't they? That I'm taking some artistic license here. However, it is documented that there were many people, even those in his immediate family, who were very uncomfortable with James Naismith's focus on team sports. This was not an accepted practice among religious circles. It wasn't okay. You can't dance with people, you can't be that physically close with folks and still uphold morals, ethics, and religious values. I don't want to make such a sweeping statement. However, we actually have a professor here on campus who's working on a book about this very challenge, that James Naismith felt very strongly that he could assist in the development and the character of young people through team sports,